Hello and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Patrick Knisley.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, joining us on today's episode, we got a very special guest. Hank Landrum has joined the show. How's it going, Hank?
Hey there, everybody. I'm really good. I'm really excited to talk about some Pokemon later on today.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Hank is here to talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus, which just came out for the Switch, and we've all had a chance to play either a little bit of it, like me, or a lot of it, like Hank. And we're going to share our thoughts and feelings on that. But we've also got a lot of news items to go into. The acquisitions just won't stop. And also the Steam Deck is going to be shipping out pretty soon. That's exciting.
Let's go.
There's been some updated alleged, sales numbers for the Switch. We'll go over that kind of stuff, some game announcements, and much more. And we'll talk about all that. But before we get into anything, how's everybody doing here tonight?
Good. Yeah. If Pikmin Bloom is anything to go by, my past week has been nothing but good days. So I'm pretty happy to see that. I've been having a good chill week. Mainly stayed home for a lot of it, but things are kind of looking up. Seems like Omicron has peaked. We've got shows coming back again this upcoming week. This Thursday, we're doing Good Fight again, so I'm excited about that. We're still in stage 5, but it's like, I'm kind of ready to start going out again and get things going again, and excited for what's to come.
Yeah, I teach a lot of private music students, and I had 4 students' parents in the past week email me and say, "Hey, just so you know, this person tested positive," and I'm like, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's definitely hit a peak, I believe. So,
yeah. It's, if you're positive, you stay home and you quarantine, and that's supposed to work, right? So
and you get to play Pokemon.
And you get to play Pokemon nonstop. Who cares?
Exactly.
What about y'all?
I'm all good here. I've been playing nothing but Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think I logged about 25 hours into it so far, and having a great time. I also decided to hang out with a few friends, so it was nice just to sit down around a bonfire and just talk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, same for me. It's been a good week. I had a really busy schedule last week with a gig that I was playing with an orchestra around, and I still managed to log 30 hours into Pokemon Legends Arceus over the weekend.
There you go.
Somehow.
Very good. Yeah,
sacrificed a lot of sleep. So,
Hank, you should explain a little bit. So you play in a quintet that does a lot of video game covers, right?
Yeah, so I am a professional clarinetist. Well, I guess almost professional. I'm in grad school right now.
You're professional.
And
don't sell yourself.
Have you ever been
I
paid?
appreciate it. Absolutely.
Yes.
I make a living off of playing and teaching clarinet.
Look, if we can call ourselves comedians, you can call yourself a clarinetist.
That's fair. But yeah, so I've been a musician my whole life. I started piano when I was really young, and then just really found a love with the clarinet and middle and high school band. And through that, I've also done a lot of sort of opportunities where I can sort of merge my love for video games as well into the musical world. And so I do a lot of arrangements for my chamber group called Quintessence. We do a lot of arrangements of large orchestral works, a lot of them being film and video game works. And it's a lot of stuff that I really like arranging. So we recently played a gig at Matthew's place, and he graciously let us use his back porch to let us do that concert there, and we did Gusty Garden Galaxy. Some other recent stuff that we've done is the Kakariko Village arrangement that's on the Zelda 25th anniversary CD.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that specific arrangement we've done, and I've done a lot of other stuff I can't.
If you're listening to this right now and you happen to be in our Discord about 2 months ago, then you saw the video of Hank playing Gusty Gardens Galaxy in my backyard. Because I posted a video of it because I was like, wow, what a surprise.
He ripped and pirated a whole video and threw it up on our Discord without paying you anything.
I know. You're telling me this now? We're going to have to.
What about you, Patrick? How's your week been?
Oh, I'm okay. I've had a bit of a rough day today, but I'm all right. And I think maybe when we get to the news, I'll talk about it because one of the news items, for some reason, was the straw that broke my back and sent me into like a panic. But you might be able to guess which one.
I maybe know. Yeah.
And anyway,
Cow the kangaroo.
yeah, Cow the kangaroo. Tailspin. Anyway, I'm okay. I'm feeling a lot better now talking with y'all. Honestly, this is really good.
Yeah. Who needs therapy?
Healing. Yeah. Who needs therapy? I can manage my anxiety. I swear.
Everyone needs it, David.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. It's helpful for literally everybody.
Okay, but we should move on. So our last episode was on mergers and acquisitions, even though that's taking over the news here as well.
Yeah.
And we had so much great discussion on the Discord. Too many people to shout out, individuals. So much great talk happening there. So don't come just for the music of Hank's quintet, but also for the discussion is there too. And then on Facebook, Vincent Goodwin said they were happy to hear that us admit that we stole their bit of This Is a Blank podcast now from their old podcast from back in 2014.
Wow.
Uh-oh. The beef enlargens?
Embiggens.
Wow.
Embiggens.
Embeefens.
Embeefens.
The drama within the Super Switch Headz community is prevalent.
Yeah.
Look,
It's getting big.
All right. Regardless, Vincent, whatever, if that is your real name, okay. Okay, this is a supposed theft, okay, and we'll be talking to our lawyers about any libel causes that might happen. That having been said, Kat Bailey, you're still on fucking thin ice. Please come on our show to defend yourself.
And then on Instagram, when we posted the selfie from this last episode, Weebwitched said, "Excuse me, is that a wizard pondering their orb?" Because Allie indeed was pondering an orb as a wizard, a Pikachu wizard of sorts.
Yeah,
which I'm glad that people noticed. That was a really nice picture.
for sure.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for all the discussion in the Discord about last episode. It was definitely like a huge topic, and so it was really nice to like hear everybody's thoughts. And yeah, it's just something I really look forward to every week. Is like hearing what y'all think about what we talk about on the show. Like it's really great to engage with you guys afterwards.
So yeah, come join the Discord to be part of that, or send us a note on any of the social media platforms. We also appreciate if you leave a review on Apple or Spotify, and if you share the podcast somewhere like on Reddit. And then lastly, please like and subscribe on YouTube. And we have a lot of video game news and rumors that we're going to go over. We'll start with something that just happened the day we're recording this, which is the thing I was alluding to earlier. That was, I don't know why this added to my panic attack, but it did. Sony is acquiring Bungie. So last week we talked about in depth about how these mergers and acquisitions have been, ramping up this year. This is, there's been probably more minor ones, but this month we've had, this month being January, we've had Take-Two buy Zynga, Microsoft buy Activision, and now Sony buying Bungie.
And at the time we're recording this, it is still January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, Sony buying Bungie isn't as big as Microsoft or Take-Two, those acquisitions. But something about it just
this is only $3.6 billion and not $70 billion.
Chump change, dude. Chump change.
Yeah, it does it if it had happened without any of those, it would have felt huge. And it just feels like, I don't know. I think I was already having a little bit of a panic attack about just the state of the world and like climate change today. And then this happened and it just sent me off. And I just was like, I gotta lay down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been an intense day in the news today between so many more developers doubling down on NFTs, all these acquisitions and shit like that. It's been quite a bit. And it doesn't seem like it's slowing down anymore, right? Like, didn't Jim Ryan was it Jim Ryan who said, look out for more like this from us in the future?
I think it's in an interview that like they had been holding until this got announced with gamesindustry.biz. He said that there are many more moves to make, quote unquote, or something like that. And I think, something to like keep in mind is that like when we hear this news, you might think, oh, Sony rushed out to buy Bungie after Microsoft rushed out to buy Activision, but probably these people have been talking for a really long time, and this is
months
just
at least
the announcement, right? and maybe it's a strategic announcement of it. But maybe not. Maybe they probably have to do it, like at some point. I don't know how it works.
Well, it could have been too. I mean, we say it's like it's impossible for them to have like done this as a response to Microsoft because the Microsoft news just broke. But I mean, they could have been insider talks about what Microsoft was planning to do months ago as well. You know what I mean? You have no idea kind of like who's talking to who inside the industry, like getting all this stuff.
So
stuff is NDA'd. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it very well could have been. And I think that like, this is not the end of it, like, yeah, I don't know. I think we're entering into a position where like the big players are just trying to scoop up all the third parties right now. And it's a little existential, Patrick. I get your dread. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like thinking about trying to get gigs and jobs and just like, they're all owned by these same parent companies is like a little part of it too, Anyway, but yeah, so Bungie's really well known for Destiny, obviously for Halo as well, but like they don't own Halo anymore. And so it's kind of a funny, it's really funny. These companies are merging.
Well, what's even funnier is Microsoft owned them and then Activision owned them for 10 years. And then they got free of Activision. And then now they're being bought by Sony. I think I saw a tweet that was like, I want to congratulate Bungie in 10 years on their freedom from ownership by Sony. Which is like probably going to happen. Yeah.
Bungie were big sluts in the video game industry. Just going around.
That?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to say that Bungie are sluts.
Yeah.
Canceled.
I fucking did. I'm saying sluts is positive. We're a sex positive podcast now.
Yes.
That's true. So I'm totally. I think
we did a whole sex episode that has like 1,000 views on YouTube. So.
Sex and video games, they go hand in hand.
They really do.
Yeah. Well, what I guess of note, so we stopped cracking jokes for a minute, is that they've claimed, at least for now, that like Destiny is going to stay multi-platform. Makes you wonder what that means. Obviously, like Destiny 2 is not going to go away, but don't you think if they make future Destiny 2 is kind of just like a permanent game though nowadays, right? Like, I mean,
but so is Destiny 1, right? Like Destiny 1 was
in theory.
Right? Yeah. Like Destiny 1 was like one of the first real like games as a service games, right? Yeah. And it was a huge success, and the whole industry has been trying to copy that model ever since. And so Bungie were kind of the first company to like really successfully make a sequel to a games as a service game, and it's done even better than Destiny 1 ever did. And so I don't know. It's interesting, this press release from Sony talking about it, because they really do emphasize how independent Bungie will remain and that they can publish wherever they please, right? Which is something you didn't even really hear from Phil Spencer during the whole Microsoft Activision stuff. Also, rip Phil Spencer. I think Destiny's his favorite game. I think he has like on Xbox, he has like over 1,000 hours in it or something like that. So it's like, bummer. That one's going straight for the jugular.
Man, I'm skeptical of all these statements of like Bungie can publish wherever they want, Bethesda or all of these other companies can publish where they want. These are just legal marketing. So if like antitrust or FTC comes after these companies, they can just say, "Hey, look, we said this."
Sure.
Yeah.
And they
until they can't, right? Yeah. until we decide they can't. Yeah.
I'm interested. I mean, it's a new world, guys. I mean, this is the new console war, right? It's like for a while, everybody was kind of kumbaya, and like Microsoft was even kind of leading that for a while. Like hey, everybody, let's get in a circle and smoke pot. And Minecraft is wherever. Let's work with Nintendo, right? But it's like they doubled down. They kind of snuck in and started this whole thing. And now I don't think we're going to see the end of this. I'm very, very interested to see what this next era of the console wars is going to look like. And if what the horse trading is going to look like down the line, if all these big, companies are holding all these little companies, are they going to start trading them back and forth like fucking Pokemon cards? Like, it's like, it's going to be a very interesting, tumultuous time in the gaming industry. Kind of here for the drama and also pretty scared.
Well, to continue this discussion, and this because this ties in, right, is that there were reports within the last week from Bloomberg, in particular, Jason Schreier, saying that the Call of Duty games are going to be going to, like we talked about, like a lot of people have theorized, going to be going to PlayStation per contracts that pre-existed for a few years, and then pretty much that after that, we don't know, probably not going to happen. So you that's like you said, Matthew, I'm skeptical. They phrase it in a way that makes it sound good, and then at some point they decide it's not in their interest to publish games for the competitor, right?
Yeah, I think about the model that Paramount Plus is doing right now, which is like a streaming service that's relatively new within the past year and a half or so, where, Paramount is Viacom, which owns like Nickelodeon, MTV,
CBS,
and CBS, all of those shows. So you have a show that's been on Netflix for many years, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. That will eventually be pulled from Netflix to go to Paramount exclusively. We've seen that with other TV shows that are like Friends. Didn't that get pulled to like Peacock? The Office, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Paramount actually already has RuPaul's Drag Race exclusively on Paramount. And so that got a huge number of people to really invest in Paramount Plus.
Yeah. I think it's called queer baiting.
Yeah. That is a queer hate crime right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in continuing the bad news, we talked about this last week, and I guess it's good news in some ways, right? Like that Raven Software, which is a subsidiary of Activision Blizzard, there are some workers the QA workers have attempted to unionize, and essentially that is not being recognized by Activision Blizzard. This has kind of developed a little bit, and I haven't followed every little detail because it's kind of been a tumultuous story with the purchase and all of that. But I think that at some point Activision Blizzard, like when they didn't respond, and then I think at some point they said no or whatever. And I'm not sure if that second part actually happened or if they just ignored it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that second part. Yeah.
Yeah. So I might have added that because I know there's been like some updating and all that, but they're trying to move forward at Raven Software, the QA people, to, file petition with the federal, I don't know the name of it, whatever federal, union board there is, labor relations board, I think maybe. So good luck to them, and let's hope these companies.
I guess because if Activision doesn't say anything about it, then it goes to a vote. If I'm understanding that correctly, right?
I'm not an expert.
Yeah. Like an investor vote?
No. Like basically, like if they don't like shut it down immediately, then it's like it's like in the workers' like hands, right?
To have it, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, so I'm sure there's some strategizing going on from management right now on like when they want to start busting this fucking union, right? Or if they're going to. But for the time, at least, it's like it's not dead in its tracks. They're not just like trying to mass fire people. So that's at least a good thing for right now. This will definitely be one to keep a very close eye on going forward, because I think, people have been saying that a lot of the games industry needs to unionize for a long time. And this is definitely the highest profile case at the biggest gaming company that this has happened yet so far. So kind of all eyes are on this right now. And we really wish them the best. And I think this is something I'd really like to talk about in a future episode more at length. And just get more into the specifics of how this could work.
Yeah, and they're all QA workers, very underappreciated, but very useful through the whole process of game development.
Absolutely.
And then in more acquisition news, the popular web browser-based game Wordle that has kind of taken over since late last year has been sold to the New York Times. The New York Times bought the rights or whatever it is to Wordle. Again, we're hearing claims that it will remain free.
And multi-plat.
Yeah.
And on your browser and not behind some app. that you have to download.
Microsoft Edge only.
See, here's how basically Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, Sony bought Bungie, and New York Times was like, hold my beer. All right, I got this. Yeah.
I thought New York Times already owned Wordle. Honestly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wordle,
They
they do other similar games, I think, but Wordle was made by one person late last year for his wife.
Whose name is Wardle.
That's a twist.
Yeah. And like there's been a lot of talks about why they never monetized it, and people have attempted to make deals and purchase it from them, but apparently they held out for the New York Times. So
honestly, dude, get your fucking bag, right?
Good for them.
Like good for them. You know, like I'm sure people are like, all right, fuck this, I'm out. You know, like I'm only gonna play if it's indie or whatever, right? But it's like, I mean, this dude came up with something that blew up pretty much overnight, became an internet sensation, is still just as big today as it was when it first peaked, right? And so it's like he didn't expect anything out of this. Now he's walking out of this probably a millionaire. So I think good for him. I think this is a win for independent word game designers everywhere.
All right, moving on. This news is kind of interesting. SEGA has decided to get rid of its arcade. So it's not going to be using its arcade division, I guess, anymore. And I at least in Japan, I don't know what this means and how it works, worldwide, but arcades have changed a lot in the last 40 years or whatever. But they still have their niche of these if you've been to a bowling alley or something, like the big machines, and you'll see Sega ones, but they apparently are selling all their remaining arcades in Japan, and which obviously arcades are kind of the start of companies like Sega and Nintendo and so on. So it's kind of I don't know what you want to call it, like a historic moment or something that they're getting out of it.
What are some of the arcade games that Sega owns?
Well, in theory, like any of they have all kinds of versions of their games, right? Like a lot of companies do, right? Like there's, I'm trying to think of what's the racing one that Sega owns?
Like Sega Rally and just like tons and tons of shit. It's kind of hard to even say how many, because they didn't just publish just their own games. It was you go to Japan into these arcades, it's a lot of Sega owns a lot of these the arcades themselves.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not just machines that are shutting down.
I understand.
These are Sega has had an arcade business since it was around, right? And so they would even publish a lot of the fighting games, and they would be in these kind of iconic white cabinets if you go around to these arcades. This is pretty devastating news for fans of arcade stuff and for Sega in general. It's just the end of an era, absolutely. And it was something where it was okay, yeah, arcades have died here in the US, but at least they're still kind of alive and flourishing in Japan. And now that's kind of on its way out as well. And for a while, Sega was looking at technology to try to keep the arcades modernized, and with net play and, trying to retrofit kind of online elements into these arcade cabinets. But that clearly must have failed, or the R&D wasn't where it needed to be, and they had to pull out. But it's a real shame to see this.
Yeah. And isn't it true that Sega might have other companies might work with Sega to have other company arcade games that you might not think of even being Sega and stuff like that?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not just even Sega properties that are affected in theory.
Yeah, it's like Capcom. They're like Capcom machines that are on Sega machines.
So that's I think COVID has not helped arcades, which were already becoming a more and more niche. So yeah.
About to see the secondhand arcade cabinet business go crazy.
Yeah,
probably. Seriously, it's you think fucking retro game collecting is bad. It's about to get wild out there if you like to collect Sega cabinets.
Well, large, bulky arcade cabinets are going out of style, but small handheld devices with the Switch are in style. And the Steam Deck, we talked about it last week. There was, news about it, but now we know for sure when it's starting to release. It's February 25th. So less than a month. So whoever got lucky enough in that horrible fight to be the first to pre-order these things.
What a stressful day.
Another really stressful day is coming up.
Yeah.
I was there like second one, and I'm in batch 2. I'm like a Q2 boy whenever my reservation comes. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see, in a month what it looks and feels like for once it starts shipping out to everybody.
Hank, are you interested in the Steam Deck at all? Have you been eyeing that?
I had no idea what this was, but now I'm kind of getting a sense of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically it's what it sounds like. It's like a Steam handheld.
That sounds insane.
Yeah. And it's really competitively priced too. It's like the cheapest model, which is like 64 gigs internal, which is like really small. Is $399. So it's like only $50 more than a Switch OLED. It's way more powerful. And you can install Windows on an SD card and stick it in. It's basically just a PC in your hand.
Wait, so it can run like pretty much anything on Steam?
They have claimed that they've been slowly testing every Steam game, and I think they're going to maybe release that list or something. But
so there are some that are just going to be incompatible, right? Because basically it is a Linux machine. So it's like most of the games on Steam will be running through like Steam front end. It's called Proton, I believe. It's like the Linux front end to run these Windows games. So not everything is going to be compatible with that right off the box. But like I said, they've said themselves, it's like you can install whatever you want on here. You can install Windows on here. This is a PC. And you could even you can grab a micro SD card, like a terabyte micro SD card, install Windows on that, and then just boot from the SD card if you want, right? Like, so if you want to play your Game Pass games or whatever through Microsoft Store, you should be able to do that theoretically. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. I'll definitely be grabbing this when it comes out.
Yeah. I play a lot of Dead by Daylight, so I'd be interested to run that on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And handheld.
Yeah. Well, and now for the news that shook me. Cow the Kangaroo is getting a reboot.
I really thought the news that shook you was the Wordle sale.
I was already numb at that point.
Okay, gotcha.
Cow the Kangaroo. I'll be honest with you. I had never heard of Cow the Kangaroo until this news broke. And I was like, why does everybody care about this? I think that time of video games is one of my, I wasn't playing a lot of new games in the early 2000s. So anybody here ever play a Cow the Kangaroo game? Or
it is a PS2, Xbox 360 era game, right?
Well,
this is like right when mascot platformers were like going out of style. This came out, I suppose. Yeah.
This is a great question. I'm going to look it up because I had an Xbox 360, but I don't know. I guess maybe I was playing different.
Yeah, everybody was playing fucking COD Modern Warfare and like shooting people and like, this is like the era of like the real rise of the M-rated game when stuff like this was coming out, right? So
hey, don't forget about Fusion Frenzy.
Well, that
was a great fucking game. Yeah.
It looks like the Cow the Kangaroo games came out between 2000 and 2005.
Okay, so a little bit before. Yeah,
more like competing against original Xbox and then,
like GameCube and PS2.
But apparently it was the Dreamcast and GBA is what the first one came out on, as well as Windows. So,
oh wow.
But yes, one of them came out on PlayStation 2. Anyway, it doesn't matter because there's a new Cow the Kangaroo game. If you're excited about that, then tell us why. Because I don't think has anybody. No, it didn't sound like anybody's ever played this game here.
Nope.
Okay, moving on.
It's like before we move on, it is like a platformer similar to like Crash / Spyro / Ratchet and Clank. So it's take all those games, put them together, you got Cow.
That's interestingly exactly what I imagined before you even told me about it.
Yeah, if you say Cow the Kangaroo, also it's not COW the Kangaroo for our audio listeners.
Yeah.
KAO the Kangaroo. But you hear that and you like can already see the game, right? It's like Ty the Tasmanian tiger or whatever. I just feel like it's that, but with a kangaroo.
But it would be funnier if it was cow, COW, the kangaroo.
That would be nice.
And in other, so that's coming out on the Switch at some point, right? But also announced for the Switch is the MLB The Show 22. So that's interesting because, you know, MLB The Show has been exclusive to PlayStation for many years. I think it was last year that it went to Xbox as well, which was kind of the news was that Major League Baseball wanted that, I think was what the deal was. They wanted it to be multi-platform. And so now it's going to be on the Switch, and apparently it's going to have cross-play. And cross progression if you have multiple copies of it.
Oh, I didn't know about the cross progression. That's awesome.
Yeah,
gosh, every game should have that. I love that.
Yeah,
and that's always hard to get into with Nintendo. I played quite a few games that I've started on Switch and then realized I can play it better on Steam.
Right.
And a lot of times I've run into a lot of trouble with cross progression.
Yeah, it's a bummer when you like realize you want to play something somewhere else, or even like with the Switch, like right, like I would be nice to take it portably and move your save over for some certain games. I imagine it's a big developer hurdle, but like cross saves.
Well, and Sony just doesn't like to play nice on that stuff. You know, you'll often find cross-play between Xbox and Switch, and Sony is kind of not a part of that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right because this is a Sony developed game, right? Like they've been working on this in-house for forever, and it really was MLB kind of like holding their feet to the fire, and making them do this. They're like, "Well, we're going to pull the license." And so I think that's great. you know, fuck it, man. Like if you've got the power to make it cross-platform, you know, especially these days, like that's going to get rarer and rarer.
If you go to the page on the Nintendo game page for MLB The Show 2022, I like at the bottom, they show the release date, the players, the genre, the publisher, etc. The developer, it only says San Diego Studio, which would be Sony San Diego. But specifically Sony is not listed as the developer.
Oh my God. That's like 20th Century Studios now.
Right.
20th Century Fox.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that's how they identify themselves though. Cause I only know this cause I looked at their careers like page recently, and like I was for some reason I was looking at San Diego Studio for something on their website, and they just call themselves San Diego Studio, even though like their website is Sony San Diego Studio.com or whatever. It's like but it doesn't say that anywhere.
Yeah.
Somebody already owned the URL for San Diego Studio. It's clearly what it is.
I mean, it does say like PlayStation in the copyright or whatever, you know, but like it's not obvious from looking at the logo.
They're the Washington football team of developers.
Anyway, we should move on. I thought this was interesting. I don't know that this applies to a lot of people here, but if there was the big Epic versus Apple battle, and you know, Fortnite has not been available on Apple like iOS devices, right? For a while now, right? How long that? It feels like that wasn't that long ago, but I guess it was. It was
like 2 years ago.
Yeah, like sometime in 2020, right?
It's a whole pandemic ago.
But there's been some talk. There's the Verge article that I saw, so I wanted to mention this. That like, you know, there's workarounds now with like streaming, like with GeForce Now, which we've talked about because of the big GeForce Now leak that happened. But there are ways to play Fortnite on your iOS. If you really want to.
You get GeForce Now on your iPhone to play Fortnite. This is like the equivalent of going like a VGA cable to HDMI to like
to composite.
To composite.
Yeah, man. If mobile Fortnite players weren't bad enough, now they're gonna be streaming the game to their phones.
Yeah.
My goodness. That's how you really get the victory royale.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. So real quickly, we'll talk about some sales numbers. You know, we talked somewhat about like MPD numbers, which is United States numbers for the year, about video game sales last time, but now we're going to talk about some numbers that are from VG charts, which is not official. Like this, their estimates, but they've estimated that the Switch has now moved past the PlayStation 1, which sold a little over 100 million units, like 102. So they're saying that they believe the Switch is like closer to 103 right now. We won't know for a while official numbers, but just another benchmark that's likely been passed if we're to believe them.
What's the PS2 at? Because PS2 is the highest selling console of all time, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that I would have to look, but I think that
Let me see.
155 million.
155 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We could do that, right, fam? Let's go.
I don't know, but maybe like the next couple, like I think the PlayStation 4 is one of the next ones at like 115 or something like that. So, yeah.
That'll really prove it. I mean, we're starting to look at numbers of home console plus handheld console sales combined, which we weren't sure if it was going to break that at the beginning, if it was just going to compete with the handheld sales or whatever, but it's working. It's definitely working for Nintendo.
And you love to see it. I mean, like, I was a devoted Nintendo fan during the entire Wii U era, where I know things were abysmal. I mean, complete turnaround. Also, and the next console is going to be total shit. So.
Hey, don't put that out there.
Consider that PlayStation 2 that is a lifetime span, which is currently 13 years, 2000 to 2013. So the Switch will probably be sold maybe for 13 years, which has the potential to grow even bigger.
Yeah. And just another little fact is that we already knew it was the best-selling console, I think, in the US based on that NPD stuff, but we now know it was the best-selling console last year in 2021 in the US, in Europe, and in Japan. So worldwide dominance right now. And then we're going to be talking about Pokemon Legends, Arceus, and all that. But just to kind of talk about some more newsworthy stuff related to it. Obviously, it's selling very well. I think it's like topping like the charts in like the UK, and is one of the best selling not the best, but up there in terms of best selling Pokemon games in the UK. Also getting really good reviews, right? Relatively, I guess we could say.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon games kind of always get pretty good reviews, even when the fan backlash is pretty out there. You know what I mean? Even like, I think like, was it IGN Italy gave Legends Arceus like a 5 out of 10 and gave Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl like a 9 or something like that.
What?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's like, you can never really tell, Yeah. I feel like a lot of people that aren't big Pokemon fans are really enjoying it, and Pokemon purists are like, oh. You know what I mean?
See,
but not all of them, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, in my experience, at least with like a lot of other devoted Pokemon players that I know, I mean, a lot of people are really excited about the departure from the series because I mean, there's no way that the Game Freak could continue with the same exact formula again. And so I'm really happy with the direction that it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that means we're ready to talk about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And get into some of that. And
I've been waiting all week.
Yeah. So we're going to take a very short break. And when we come back, we're going to dig into Pokemon Legends Arceus. All right. We are back. And this week we're talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus. Game just came out on Friday, January 28th of 2022. So we've been playing this to varying degrees over the last several days and are going to dig into it. So yeah, I guess just sort of big picture, how's everybody feel about this game? You like it? Love it?
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. One word for me is kind of like relieved.
Yeah.
Like I've been wanting to enjoy a Pokemon game like this for, I feel like 15 years or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like I was like really, really nervous about this game because it's a tale as old as time that I pick up a Pokemon game hoping that it gets me back into the series. and then I beat like a couple gyms and I just get bored and I put it down. And I know a lot of people like grind through to the end of the games and like whatever, but it's like for Sword and Shield, like I just kind of lost steam really quickly and I never went back to it. And then I felt like FOMO because like I saw so many people having fun, but I just couldn't get into it. This game just like hooked me right away, and I'm a super big fan. I'm really enjoying it so far.
Hank, you said you loved it. What about you, Matthew? You're nodding.
I agree with everything. It's such a fun game. I'm 25 hours into it already. And we were talking about this in the Discord, making jokes. It's like, hey, is it 10 p.m. yet? Or 11, or whenever it launched, 11 p.m. Central.
CST.
Yeah, 11 p.m. Central Time. And it was really fun. I played it at launch and then played it through the whole weekend, 25 hours later. I agree with David. It is nice to play a game that is new and familiar at the same time.
Yes.
I have a silly metaphor that popped into my head when Domino's Pizza was shitting the bed for a really long time. They did a reintroduction of making new pizzas, and pizza metaphors are always helpful.
Yeah.
It felt like that to me. Now, like everyone eats Domino's because it's cheap and it's relatively good.
And the crust is legit now at Domino's. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah. Patrick hates Domino's Pizza.
Maybe I haven't had it since the reintroduction.
Okay.
Patrick might be a hater throughout this whole episode. Actually.
Yeah, maybe I am. I'm going to keep quiet because number one, I haven't played very much of it. I played a little bit of your copy, Matthew, but just to be able to at least talk about it. But I also just have never been a Pokemon person. Regular listeners of the podcast have heard me tell this story, but I never played a Pokemon game until Pokemon Go came out. I just wasn't the right age when it came out for the Game Boy. I thought it was for kids, and
it was.
And I was too cool for that, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and so I never played Pokemon until Pokemon Go, which I only barely played, and I had no attachment to. So I don't have the like. What I feel is almost a necessary attachment to this series to enjoy it. Like,
That's fair.
So like, even though this is from my very limited time, maybe the best Pokemon game ever. I feel like that's like saying this is the best Denny's ever or something. Like this. No, but this IHOP is really, this IHOP is really good. Like compared to,
first of all, fuck you. Chain restaurants are amazing. Second of all, sorry I said fuck you. I don't mean that. You know
Yeah.
But how far I am curious how far you are because I started the game. And it didn't really click for me until like 3 hours in. And it's when I like got the gameplay loop and like the kind of expedition loop of the whole thing, like finally made sense to me. And then I was just like sucked right in.
Again, I'm not trying to like be a negative Nancy or anything because I can see it. You know, I think I had a lot more fun with this than I've had with when I tried the Let's Go Pokemon game or whatever. Like, the sneaking and capturing, we'll get into it. Like that's fun. Like I don't know if I'll go back to it.
I'm just like worried you're still in the tutorial.
Oh, I definitely am.
Well, get out of the tutorial, Patrick. The game like gets way fun right after you finish the tutorial.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far you are, David, but the story gets really good too.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm about 13 hours into it right now. Although we were kind of talking about this beforehand on the show. That it's like you can't really just say like, oh, I'm 13 hours into it and everybody knows how far you are because you could spend as much time on expeditions as you want, really.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can spend as much time filling out the Pokedex early, or I feel like you just breeze through the game quickly, right? And I love that about it so far.
I was watching the YouTuber Austin John Plays, and he already had 8 out of 10 stars before even leaving the first area. You can really play it however you want.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think I did enjoy that aspect of it, which maybe we can talk about the gameplay, right? And I criticism I heard many people say was what you're telling me, David, is that it's kind of a slow start, which is true of all Pokemon games, right? Like as I understand it, and the few I have played, there's sort of heavy-handed tutorial intros, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of text at the beginning that really just had me, not reading sometimes and just button mashing.
Bro, there's a lot of text throughout. I think
but
there's a lot of dialogue.
The text towards the end gets a lot more interesting. So I stopped button mashing once we got towards the end because then some really cool story stuff was happening. But
cool.
Yeah, I mean, they even though it's different, right? It still kind of sticks to this. You're a kid who has a professor, right? Like formula.
You're no longer 10. You're now 15. So
that's right. You've aged up a little bit. They know their audience is aged up.
yeah, exactly. 5 years in the past 30.
I mean, that's like kind of the core of what this game feels like to me, right? Like this game feels like Pokemon for more grown-up people. It's like the other Pokemon games now to me feel like kids games compared to this, right? Like everything about it is like more in depth, requires like more fundamental knowledge of how modern games work. You know, like I feel like you're going to be fucked if you're not good at like controlling the camera with the right stick in this game.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, like the dodge mechanic is like straight out of like Monster Hunter or like any other of these big action games, right? So it like draws a lot from other kinds of games. But what I think is so good about it is that it like, it's not doing that instead of a normal kind of Pokemon game. It's like in service of a normal kind of Pokemon game, right? Like the fundamentals of Pokemon are all still there and kind of more pure than they've ever been in this game, I think.
Yeah, and going off of that, you can really play the game. You know, there are two sort of lanes of how you want to play the game. When it comes to like catching and battling Pokemon, well, one of them is battling. You know, you can play it like a totally traditional Pokemon game where you can go up to a wild Pokemon and throw the Pokeball and then fight it, weaken it down, throw a Pokeball at it. Or you can play it like Assassin's Creed, where you're just, you know, assassinating every single Pokemon that you see with a Pokeball to try and catch it. And then, you know, roll over and hide in the grass if it doesn't get caught, because then it's going to look for you, you know, that kind of thing. So I've been doing a mix of the two, and it's a lot of fun.
I did enjoy the sort of stealth aspect of it. Quite a bit. I think that's a lot of fun. Where you can kind of try to, and it even encourages, right? Like some, you know, on that thing, which I don't even know what it's called. Y'all have played more than me, but like you have missions or whatever they're called, right? And you're, you know,
requests,
like side quests or the Pokedex.
Yeah, that part of the Pokedex, right? Like it's like capture 10 of them or whatever.
Oh,
capture 5 of them without them seeing you, right? I think that's a really cool gameplay mechanic that they have all those little things that you can do and you know, in a varied way to do it, because man, that made it more fun to be like.
Reminds me of Pokemon Snap, to be honest.
Yeah. If only the graphics were as good.
We'll get to that later.
That is partly where I am hung up. But
Matt, you had something?
I think, you know, generally about the gameplay loop, past the introduction, which is a slog fest, as we've said many times. Like the first hour is just like text and story and like, okay, I know how to catch Pokemon. I understand, get the mechanics. And while I was playing it, and this is the realization that I had maybe within the first 5 or 6 hours, I was just like, man, imagine if this is your first Pokemon game. You have a Switch, you're playing at home, enjoying this game for the first time. Like this game, it feels like we've talked a lot about this very subject, about what I thought a game feels like when I was playing video games as a kid. Pokemon Legends Arceus feels like I felt when I was playing Pokemon Red.
Sure. Yeah. Kind of like in the way that like Breath of the Wild gave me that same sense of awe that I got from Ocarina of Time back in the day, but with a more modern viewpoint, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I also think that that's kind of due to where Game Freak has gone with newer generations of Pokemon. I mean, like, so with older games, I definitely was younger when Pokemon Red and Pokemon Gold and Ruby and Sapphire and Diamond and Pearl first came out, but they didn't hold your hand as much as they do now. And now it really, you know, kind of gets in the way of a lot of attraction to the game at first. And hopefully for a lot of people, the rest of Arceus has been able to lure them in after, you know, the tutorial that takes quite a little while.
So we've hinted at what's different, but just to be clear, like if you didn't already know, right? Like it's fully 3D, right? And so
you can
like
look at the ceiling now.
and when you're out capturing Pokemon, whereas before it was always battling, right? You can, you know, move around in this 3D space and capture by just throwing the ball.
I mean, maybe we can use that opportunity to talk like about those mechanics a little bit. And I think what makes them so satisfying, because it's like because when I was watching the footage for this, I was like, okay, who fucking cares, right? You're walking around, instead of walking through grass, you see it, you throw a ball, and then you wait, and then it goes up, and then you do the battle, and then it's whatever, and then you win or you lose, and then you leave, right? But what I wasn't expecting was this just like beautiful fucking flow to everything. Like everything is so quick. Like you can, shoot one of your Pokemon out at a tree or like a rock where you want to like get stuff from. And then while they're still out and going, you're already running towards this next battle and throwing your next Pokemon out at the battle. You start the fucking battle, you're going through, and as you know it's about to do the death blow, you start booking it out of there already, and you're already running away to the next battle. And it's just like boom, 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 boom. And that's part of why I think it makes it so addicting to play and satisfying. It's just like gone are the days of like, like the fucking like long cinematic loading. As it gets into everything. It's just like everything is just like snapped up incredibly. And it's like having that freedom of movement, having the freedom of camera throughout all of it just really makes you feel like you're in control. And it makes me glad that they didn't do away with the turn-based battles, because I thought that would be something that would really break up the flow of the game, but it just adds to it, I think, like being able to go in and out of them quickly.
I didn't realize that the turn-based battles would be in the same like it doesn't cut, you're saying there's a phrase here I can't think of, it's on the tip of my tongue, but like
transition. Yeah,
there's no transition. It's like
right there.
It's right there, and that was surprising to me because I hadn't watched all the previews for the game. So
it keeps you immersed in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can have some funny angles for battles.
Yeah. You could fucking die from a hydroblast or a hydro beam. You can't really die. Sorry, I don't know this.
Sorry.
No, please correct me.
Pump.
Hyper beam or hydro pump. Those are two separate moves.
They sound the same to me, and I'm gonna.
One is a water type move, one is a normal type move. But go off.
No, I love standing in the middle. Like when I'm
the fight?
Pokemon.
Oh, and then they hit you. Yeah,
and then you're just like, whoa! Like or like I love like whenever I send my Pokemon out and I deal a death blow, I love just like running in circles around the Pokemon as it's dying, just being like, fuck you.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. So going off of not just the wild Pokemon battles, something that I was extremely worried about with this game, because Nintendo did not advertise it at all, that there would still be player versus player battles, or I should say, like AI battles.
Trainer battles.
Trainer battles, exactly, yeah. Trainer battles. And I mean, that is something that I have a lot of experience in competitive Pokemon battling. And so battling has always been like really at the core of why I've been attracted to the Pokemon games. And I knew I would like this game regardless, just because it was so new and such a departure from the series. But the way that they inputted the trainer battles into this game is really great, I think, because there are nowhere near as many just meaningless trainer battles where you have to grind and level up experience and get to the next area, whatever it is. And every single trainer battle is with like a major character in the story, and it makes each trainer battle that much more meaningful because there are so many less of them. So I really like it.
I will say that the trainer battles for me have been like remarkably easy so far. I'm on the second area right now. I'm sure they'll ramp up in difficulty. But I do like that there are less and that they're more like important. But what this game, one of the things that makes this game like really feel like a grown up Pokemon game is that this game is like kind of fucking hard, right? Like this game is not easy. Yeah.
It is so hard. I had so much trouble. I've already beaten the game. I kind of think that there are 3, levels of beating the game. The first level is when the credits first roll. And then after you do a lot of post-game content and you get to a certain point, then that's another level of beating the game. And then once you complete the Pokedex, that's kind of another level of beating the game. But
so you've done beating the game 1 so far.
I've done 2.
Okay, you've done 2.
Right now, I'm just working on, right now, I'm working on completing the Pokedex, finishing all my side quests, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I knew the game leaked a week early. And so I've been watching streamers play it for a week beforehand. And so I knew who the really final boss was. Mm-hmm. And I was really interested to get there. So I actually got there this morning. And they were really hard. Like really hard. The trainer battles towards the end of the game get really difficult. Some really high level Pokemon. And you really have to know, you have to have a really good understanding of how the new battle system works between agile, strong style moves. And not just that, but also all the noble Pokemon battles. The 4th and 5th noble Pokemon, which there are 5 total, I had a lot of difficulty with, and I had to retry those battles quite a few times.
I love to hear that. Because I mean, every Pokemon game has just been a fucking breeze. It's been a walk in the park. You know what I mean? Like, there's no challenge to it whatsoever. And so, especially once they added like EXP share and by default on all the games, it was just like, okay, well now there's zero challenge to this, right? That's why people came up with Nuzlocke and shit to like actually have some artificial difficulty. But it's like this game is like kicking my ass. You know, it's like I've only blacked out like once or twice. But that's because I'm playing like super carefully because I'm afraid of it, you know? And I think both of those times have been because I was riding my steed and just jumped off a giant cliff and didn't realize there was fall damage. But it's like, but like, I'm like way here for it. It's like, I was not expecting this game to actually be a challenge.
Yeah. And the ride Pokemon too actually provide a level of comfort that, like, if you see an alpha Pokemon that's way higher level than your team is and whatever, you can still go for it, do your best, and then if you just get totally creamed, you can ride your weird straight out of there, you know? So it lets you really, you know, attempt some of those more difficult aspects of the game while still having a little bit of a cushion to get out. So
I don't want to take away from this discussion of the gameplay, but I am curious, Hank, especially since you've gone farther than maybe the rest of the people. What is the like size of this, you know what I mean? The game, like in terms of how long, I mean, obviously we talked about you can take your time or not, but like compared to other Pokemon games, does it feel about the same, or is this game bigger? Does it feel bigger because of the 3D aspect, or?
I think that, so many people are comparing this game to Breath of the Wild, and I don't want to. But
well, that'll be a segment later that I'd like to go down.
But I think that it is similar to Breath of the Wild in the sense of the story, to where you can just book it straight through the main storyline and do absolutely nothing else and probably beat the game in maybe 10 hours, maybe a little less. Or, I mean, what I did was, I'm very much a completionist. Majora's Mask is one of my favorite games ever because of all the side quests. And so I went into the first area. There are 5 areas in total in the Hisui region, which is the region that the game takes place. And I went into the first area and just wanted to get every single Pokemon in the first area, wanted to do every single side quest. And that's what I did for the first area. Second area, I left some out. By the time I got to the third area, I was like, I'm just going to keep going through the storyline. I'm close enough to the end. And then I just booked it through the 4th and 5th and then finished the game. And I finished with that pattern in like 22 hours, I think, maybe 23. I don't remember exactly. And then I've spent the past 7 or so hours on post-game content in order to get the true final boss. So, which I got earlier today. So
cool.
Yeah. Got it. And so just as an ignorant Pokemon person, does that feel bigger than a normal, quote unquote, normal Pokemon?
Right.
game?
That was your question. I think
a very respectful way to ask that, Patrick. That was a good job.
Yeah. I think that in regards to time you have to put into it, no. Because I think that Pokemon games, to really get through the entire game, generally they do take a long time, and that really is just from a lot of the annoying trainer battles you have to get through a lot of the time, and annoying stuff that happens in the story. Like in Sword and Shield, I didn't give a shit about the story. You know, I was just trying to make it to the end so I could, you know, start sending my Garchomp out on online battles to get to, you know, the top rank on online. Anyways, but with this game, I think that it's much bigger in the aspect of the world, for sure. The map is, I mean, obviously huge. And I think that completing the Pokedex requires a lot more time put into it, because in normal Pokemon games, you just catch the Pokemon, or even some you just see it and they count it as you've completed that entry for the Pokemon. And this game, you have to get these certain kinds of points, Pokedex points for each Pokemon entry, up to 10 points. And those 10 points can be rewarded by doing different things, whether it's capturing X amount of the Pokemon or defeating X amount of the Pokemon, or like today I was trying to get the Pokedex entry for all the evolutions. And each of the evolutions, you have to have them use their specific elemental move and agile style moves a specific amount of times in order to get those points up. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was spamming Psychic on my Espeon just before we logged into this. So.
So it can be as long as you want. It can be
really.
11-hour, 12-hour game, or it can be, I don't know, over 200-hour game, it sounds like.
But it does sound like maybe it's like they've gotten rid of some stuff that made it feel that was repetitive and felt artificially lengthening, and replaced it with some stuff that some people might enjoy more.
Yeah, or at least you're in control of it, right? It's like this game like does not do away with grinding. In fact, grinding is a big part of this game, but it's like grinding on your own terms. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you're not like going through tall grass and hoping something happens. It's like, okay, I want to focus on this Pokemon now for a while, or I want to focus on this guy, right? And so it's like, and because you're like being strategic about how you approach things, it just doesn't feel as mindless and as it used to, right? And I'm still early in the game, so it's like I can't really say for sure, but it's like, but I don't know. I for me, it just feels like so much more satisfying than any other Pokemon game because you just have a lot more player agency as you're going through it.
Yeah. Going back to the Breath of the Wild comparison, I agree that it's not a Breath of the Wild game, but I think the hooks of what sinks its teeth into the player is the same. Like to really synthesize it down, Breath of the Wild is so fun because you can climb and go anywhere. And Pokemon Legends Arceus is fun because you can catch and see Pokemon everywhere. It's the kind of the same loop, but just shifted the focus instead of like exploration taking your character, it's shifting the focus onto the Pokemon that you can catch or see or to fill out your Pokedex.
The very little I played, I did actually enjoy that just exploration aspect. Like, you know, I was the first part where you have I don't know if they end up being your rival or what, but the other young person like runs ahead of you. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to go over there. And see what's over here, you know what I mean? Like, and explore a little bit. And then once I had a little more freedom, I was like, I'm just gonna, what's beyond that lake or whatever, you know what I mean? Can I make it over there? I said it had that aspect of it, even if it's not anywhere near the same.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about how I've read a lot about how they're like, oh, the areas aren't really that big. And I disagree. I think they're enormous, you know, and it's like, and there's so many of them too. It's like, it might not be a one big contiguous area like Breath of the Wild, but I think I kind of like that it's more doled out in these chunks, right? And I guess it's more kind of Monster Hunter in that regard than it is Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a game that wears its inspirations on its sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of comparisons to Monster Hunter more so than Breath of the Wild. Yeah. I think that's a little bit more appropriate because of the region.
And the kind of expedition style gameplay, right?
And it's like go out and gather these things.
Right. Because that was really confusing to me actually when I first started playing, as I was like, I know I have 10 points on this thing. Why don't I have my Pokedex entry updated yet? And that's because you have to go back. You have to like survive and like go back and actually like log it with the right people before it counts. And then that's really when the gameplay loop like clicked for me. It was like, okay, so there's a whole risk reward scenario here. That's why you're trying not to black out. You know what I mean? Is so that you can actually go back and like finish your expedition for the day or whatever. You know, and it makes it so where you want to like push it as hard as you can to like get as much shit as possible so you rank up quicker, right? I love that aspect of it, of the gameplay.
Sorry, please go ahead. No.
Well, something about the gameplay that I really was having trouble with today because I, completed a majority of the story things. And so I'm really just trying to log my Pokedex today, or I was really trying to log my Pokedex today, is that whenever you leave an area, you have to go back to Jubilife Village, which is the main headquarters of the whole game, before you can go to another area. You can't just go straight to another area.
Right.
And that was a really, quality of life thing that I think is going to really annoy me in these next couple, however long it takes me to complete the Pokedex.
Sure. Yeah. No, like fast travel between areas or whatever.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of fast travel in the game, which is definitely different for a Pokemon game. I mean, Pokemon games do have fast travel between cities for different things.
Like flight or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was a little quality of life thing that I didn't enjoy. But there are a lot of other things that are working well.
Well, maybe we can talk about the story. I don't know if this feels different than another Pokemon game. Again, my experience is pretty limited. There's definitely some of the same elements. And then obviously there's the big difference of this being set back in the past, and they do a thing which I personally find somewhat annoying of taking a modern day person and throwing them into the past. I wish it was just people in the past, or whatever. Like, but maybe they do that as a way to, I think, have a new person and that kind of thing, and build you up as this badass Pokemon.
You have to start with a
person.
t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to start
And
with
flip-flops.
t-shirt and shorts.
I'm still wearing
that's
flip-flops.
that's a very fair comparison, but actually it ends up making sense with the story, and I'm really
Okay.
actually happy that they did that.
What do you think, Hank? I mean, without getting into spoilers of like this story compared to other Pokemon stories, is it about the same, an improvement? Or
I think it's definitely improvement. It's definitely better than a lot of other stories. I think that a lot of Pokemon games have had specifically good stories. So like Sword and Shield, nobody cared about that story literally at all. I mean, most Pokemon games follow the same formula. Sometimes they'll have some really unique parts of it. So Sun and Moon, the 7th generation, had a really unique, main villain in the game. And Luce, who she was, she ended up like morphing with an Ultra Beast. And it was this really, you learned about this unique character, and it was a really unique story behind it. This game kind of caught me off guard with how good the story was. I was really, at the first 3 sort of, levels, regions, areas that you go to, I wasn't super invested in the story. I was just like, okay, this is clear what my mission is. In the 3rd area, which the Cobalt Coastlands, which I think, David, you said you're in the 3rd area?
I'm in the 2nd area.
Oh, 2nd area. Okay. Well, then you'll get into it in the next one.
Yeah.
The specific story for the region was really, really heartwarming, I think. And then also, as I kept progressing from there, as I started getting closer to the end of the game, it really threw me for a loop. There were a lot of shocks in the story. Like, there were a lot of people that throughout the game that end up, having different reasons to do different things that are really shocking. And so
you nailed the spoiler free there. Nailed it.
Thank you. So, it's really, I really enjoyed it a lot.
Good story endorsement.
Yeah.
Good to hear that.
I like that the stakes feel high in this game, right? And it's like at the very beginning of the game, what is it? Captain Saya? How do you pronounce her name?
Silene, I think.
Silene, that's what it is. Captain Silene is like, hey, you can stay here, but if you go out there, you'll probably fucking die. You know
I know.
what I mean? And
they
like,
said die, and I said, "Is this a Pokemon game?"
Yeah. It's just like immediately.
You mean blackout?
Yeah. No, they're like either you'll stay here and you'll be part of us, or you're fucking fail and die. And it's just like, okay,
it's crazy.
It was definitely a dark moment there where it's like, we don't have space or time to feed somebody who can't help out. Some real
Yeah, exactly.
If you're disabled, you were thrown out of Jubilife or whatever. Is what it
they're
feels
very
like.
ableist.
You know what I mean?
Jubilife. Yeah. But no, it's like, I love the whole caveat, like the setting of a world that's just kind of just figuring out what Pokemon even are, and they're all terrified of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, even at the beginning of the game, some of the side quests, it's like you're already seeing like, oh, okay, this is when people started to realize that like people and Pokemon can like help each other out and coexist. You know what I mean? You start slowly introducing Pokemon into the village, and they're starting to like live with each other. I just think that's a really cool thing, because all the other games, that's already like a part of the world, And so it's just kind of makes the story more dynamic, I think, to kind of explore that.
One of my favorite side quests, I think, from the game that I've done so far is, and it's early on, so I'm sure you've gotten to it, is there's this woman who needs a Geodude to help with her pickles. She needs a Geodude to help make pickles. And then later on, she actually ends up, I don't remember what she asked for the second time, but she asked for another Pokemon to help with the pickles. And it's just a funny touch. But it very much is that where a lot of characters in this game have never really, used Pokemon in any sort of helpful way. And this is really when they're first starting.
Pickles are hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt, what do you think about the story?
I like the pickles. The story's fine. I think y'all hit it. I don't want to say what you already said. I think it explores new ideas, which is, are these Pokemon dangerous? Should we catch them? Should we coexist with them? And it allows the characters to explore those different perspectives. Some want to completely control the Pokemon. Some worship Pokemon like gods and think we shouldn't encapsulate them or put them to work or be a part of them. They should be raised up and put on a pedestal. I think this game just explores all of those different perspectives. And what you said resonated with me because I did not expect this to offer different perspectives of different cultures in relation to Pokemon.
Yeah, the almighty Sinnoh.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
I want to touch on something else in story. And this is more for more hardcore Pokemon fans, but I think some people who have dabbled in Pokemon can, pick up on this more. A majority of main characters in the game are ancestors of other Pokemon characters that you know. And it's very obvious based on the styling of them, their hair, and they use the same main Pokemon as those characters from normal games are. Now it's
Very
a majority. Yeah, and it's really cool. And especially because I was going through the game and I kept realizing more and more of characters that I had already known. And I was like, oh my gosh, like one that is blatantly obvious from the beginning of the game when you first meet her is there's this group of bandits that kind of keep coming in periodically that kind of cause
They're
trouble.
like three sisters or whatever?
Yeah, three sisters, yeah. And one of them, I think her name is Clove, I'm not sure though. She has these long black pigtails that are very obviously the same as Candace, who is the ice-type gym leader from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. And she uses an Abomasnow, which is Candace's main Pokemon. But there are a lot more obscure ones too. That, I mean, I don't want to spoil in case there are any, hardcore Pokemon fans, because it was really a joy for me to realize it myself and find it out myself. And they're not just from Diamond and Pearl. I mean, there are some other obvious ones like Silene, the commander. I knew from the first trailer that she was relative to Cyrus, the main leader of Team Galactic and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. But there are some others from like Black and White. There's a character from Black and White that's in the game. There's
awesome.
a descendant of a character from the Kanto region that's in the game. And they're obscure characters too. They're not just obvious ones. It's not just the professor, just the main villain. It's like a random gym leader, a random Elite Four member, someone random who helps you out. And so I think that that's a really amazing thing that Game Freak did to cater to like longtime Pokemon fans.
Wow.
So,
and it kind of puts into perspective a little bit like why this and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl came out around the same time, right?
Yeah.
Set in the same region. It's like you play that and then get to see like kind of this context for a lot of that game, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that because the normal Pokemon formula is, new generation of game, usually a remake for the game, although for the past generation it was just DLC that came out for Sword and Shield, and then a remake of a previous game from like 10 plus years ago.
Right.
And I mean, what Game Freak did was they handed off to another developer the actual Diamond and Pearl remakes, and that developer made the exact same thing. They did exact Diamond and Pearl ports for the Switch that obviously those came out in last November. And I think what they did was really smart because I think they saw this as an opportunity to do that and to take Pokemon in a different direction. And the fact that it's set in the Sinnoh region, I think is really intentional.
Well, let's talk about the music and the art, the graphics and the sound. What do y'all think about? Obviously, the graphics are not as good as a lot of other first-party Nintendo games or third-party games. Do you think it's fair to criticize it or not, or does it matter?
I think it's definitely fair to criticize, but they are the best out of any Pokemon game so far.
That's
besides
true.
Pokemon Snap, which is a much smaller game. So, but out of any mainline Pokemon game, they are the best. So I think that is a cool direction that they're heading. They could have done way more.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, man. I mean, it's a pretty ugly game. Like, it's like, I mean, okay, it's got moments of beauty, right? And in fact, if you go into the menus, you can have a toggleable HUD. There's like a setting for a toggleable HUD. And if you click the right stick when you have that menu setting set, it'll just clear the HUD and it'll just be like blank. And at times like that, you're like, okay, this is actually there are moments of real beauty in this, and it's like, sometimes when it's raining and you've got a little shimmer on your body and your Pokemon are all wet and it's fucking, or like a really nice sunset and the sun is hitting just right. It can be really pretty, but it's like, man, it's like there are times, like, especially when you're like, I can't play this game on TV. I can't play this game on a TV because it's like the dynamic resolution is like really rough. And it's like my character, who's like right in the middle of the screen, is just a jaggy mess. I can't see any of the Pokemon in the distance and all that kind of stuff. Now in handheld, I think this game actually looks like pretty decent. You know what I mean? Like it's 720p resolution and it's a smaller screen, obviously. But I mean, I understand all the complaints about the graphics, and I pretty much agree. It definitely feels like this game like would have been a lot better on a Switch Pro. But I mean, as you said, Breath of the Wild looks a lot better than this game. We're comparing games that it's clearly compared to. Monster Hunter Rise, like one of the best looking games on the Switch. You know, they're able to do these big environments with big monsters roaming around, no problem, right? I mean, it's a different engine, obviously, but I think it's definitely
Kirby game comes to mind too.
Yeah.
Like
Mario Odyssey. You know, that's
Mario
like a
Odyssey.
gorgeous game. Like, so it's like, you know, I mean, this has never been Game Freak's MO is to make like a beautiful game, and I think they did their best here. But I do think that it's time, if they continue the series, which I'm sure they will, to outsource some of that shit in the graphics department. You know, it's like clearly it's kind of the main problem of the game for me.
Yeah, I think it is somebody who does not have an attachment to it. It's a big turn off. Like playing this game, I'm like, this gameplay is pretty fun, but all these trees and grass look the same, and they don't look, and they're kind of crummy looking. You know what I mean? Like it takes away from it. But I also understand that it's like a step in the right direction too. So it's a weird place to be. Yeah.
This whole game feels like a step, right?
Yeah, just one
small step.
Just
one step.
Yeah,
I agree, man. When it's bad, the graphics are bad. There are a few situations where I'm just like, come on, you could have done it just a little bit better. And the biggest culprit for me was when you're catching water Pokemon. There's the Pokeball will go into the water and it'll have this like tiny reflection, but it will be like a 120 90 frames reflection, and it's just bad. It just looks really bad. And like I love the gameplay look, and I'm hooked in the immersion of catching all of them. But immediately when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm playing a Pokemon game that doesn't have great graphics. There's small reminders that like take me out of being really, really hooked. And I just want just a little bit better graphics and a little bit, if this could have got delayed 6 months, just a little more shine and shimmer. There's just things that just like take me out of it. I wish those were a little bit better.
One of the funniest aspects of the graphics are that I've noticed specifically with flying Pokemon, whenever they're just at the edge of when they come into view, or you're just leaving, then going out of view, if you look back at the flying Pokemon, because normally like a Staraptor will have like, you know, wings that go normal. Yeah, it's just up, down, up, and it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I wonder if the Game Freak just like struggled with memory leaks in this game, because the draw distance is really bad.
There's a lot of pop in.
Yeah, lots of pop in, and Hank, what you're saying with the animations of the wings, just going from like 60 frames or 30 frames down to like 10 frames.
They should talk to Atlas, man, because this game reminds me a lot of Shin Megami Tensei 5, right? You know, obviously Shin Megami Tensei series and Pokemon are very similar in a lot of ways, right? But it's like, you know, there are times I'm playing it where I'm like, man, SMT just did this like so well. And even they do the thing where it's like lower frame rates for people in the distance, but they managed to make it work a bit more. It kind of like feels like more stylistically intentional than it is with Pokemon, right? And they just nailed the draw distance a lot better in that game as well. So it's just like a lot of little, because that, you know, SMT isn't the best looking game, especially in handheld. You know, it's got its own dynamic resolution problems that I think are pretty bad, but it's like, it just nailed the art style enough to where you can forgive it, where Pokemon Arceus like feels like it's not quite there yet, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and maybe it is like the next game they'll get it down, but we've been saying that for generations. And they finally made, like, this game should have came out 10 years ago, you know, like, you know, it's like we're finally at the point now where they're making some changes.
How do we feel about the music in general?
Pretty much 10 out of 10 bangers straight through. I love the soundtrack.
And I think Game Freak intentionally did a lot, as much as they could, to reference other Pokemon games through characters, music, areas, names of areas are very reminiscent of what eventual town names are in Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. Sanjum Heights, Sanjum Town, there's a lot of parallels. I think that music-wise, they did the same thing. In Jubilife Village, you hear remnants of the Jubilife City theme. In each of the lakes, Lake Valor, Lake Acuity, Lake... the other one is escaping me. You hear remnants of the lake themes, and they're really beautifully done. I think the orchestration is really good in this game, as a very much video game music snob.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You have the authority on this.
I did hear some people say this, and I felt this way too. The music's a little bit sleepy at the beginning, at least. Maybe there's.
It put me to bed the first night I played. Yeah,
I was playing mid-afternoon on the weekend with my son, and I was just like dozing off as we're listening to this like village theme or whatever. And there's a lot of text and me reading it out loud. I'm like,
yeah. Well, it didn't help that I was playing the game at like 11 p.m. right when it came out. So I was just like, okay.
Yeah. I think that maybe is just a beginning of game thing, because one specific way that the music really impacted my playthrough was, and I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler if I say a specific legendary Pokemon that you encounter, because it's kind of expected who you're going to encounter based on where the game is. But Giratina, when you eventually encounter Giratina, I'm not going to tell you how. Giratina has a distinct theme that was, written a long time ago when Diamond Pearl came out, and how they redid it in this game, based on what happens with Giratina specifically, really added a lot to the experience for me, especially knowing Giratina's theme really well. When they did that, I was like, oh shit, like I'm in some shit right now if I don't beat this thing. So like nice. It was really cool for me.
I'm just really pleased with it. I think all the compositions are really well done, and it's like I didn't play that much of the Diamond and Pearl remakes. I got bored really on that game. The graphics really turned me off. But the one thing I really liked about that game was the soundtrack. And I thought that all the remixes they did in that game were really fantastic. And in this game too, it's like, I just love it. I mean, it's got like the little plinky Breath of the Wild, like organic kind of ambient style stuff. But then it also has like themes, right? It's got like night themes and it's got like day themes, like you were saying, based on where you are. So a good blend of that. And that's kind of something I wish was in Breath of the Wild too, was more like, I love the ambient stuff and it works. It's great for mood, but then bringing in just some good, well composed and music with really good arrangements it's just really nice when it does happen, and it just like feels really satisfying.
The main critique that I do have of the music, if there is one, I have a very small one, is that there are some themes that are in that style of Breath of the Wild where it feels like the music is more continuous. There are some themes where it plays for a minute and then it loops and then it loops and then it loops, and it becomes kind of obvious to someone who really is listening to music like myself. And it's great themes, but some of the themes are a little annoying after a while. They get old. But when you're in the main sort of you're out in the open world in each specific region, finding Pokemon, they cycle through a lot of different themes that they attach. And I don't know yet whether certain themes, I mean, I'm sure there are some themes attached to the day and night cycle, but I don't know yet like what triggers what specific themes playing. And I'm sure that we'll find that out eventually. But the way that they did that is really good. But when you're in some specific areas, it's like, okay, this is a little old.
Well, what are some of the other critiques then? I feel like we've covered most of the major points. And Matthew, you wanted to maybe talk about some, or maybe this is a good place as well for those comparisons to Breath of the Wild. But we can start with any other major critiques or things you would want
before I critique it too much. Just to say, like, anything that I would say about the critiques does not take away from the great gameplay loop or hook. Despite the graphics and some of the pop-in that happen, the gameplay and the loop is still really fun. This game is definitely worth, if you're a big Pokemon fan or this might be your first entry, this is a great game.
That having been said, what do you have? What are some critiques that you have?
I think that the first thing that really threw me for the loop is the UI, the menu felt really clunky to me. I think
it is fucked.
So
you have to get used to it.
The big thing that I still haven't got down is that the requests are in the map, but not in the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
what does the plus button do in this game?
Well, yeah, you haven't even gotten there. You mount. You get on your mount.
That's
Oh, yeah,
weird,
yeah, yeah.
like every game uses the plus button as a menu button, right? And
no.
That's
Every game has always used up on the D-pad.
yeah.
That's the obvious way to pause your game.
so.
Yeah.
Like when I'm like trying to find how to save my game, I'm like, plus isn't doing anything, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Because
Once you unlock your mount, you like instantly hop on and off.
it's a
by pressing
weird
plus.
button to put that on. Anyway,
Yeah. So with all of the critiques aside, and this UI, I started just to get a little bit frustrated when I'm like, this is Pokemon, the biggest brand in the entire world. Like, just like do some UX UI testing with a couple users that use this game that have played other games. I've just got frustrated many other times. I still put 25 hours into this game. This is how fun it is. But man.
But are you still having issues with it? Like 25 hours in?
100%. Yeah.
See, that's where I'm at. It's like, you know what a really annoying one for me is you press minus to pull up the map. And then you would think then if you press minus, it'll close it back out. But it doesn't. And I just click it over and over again. It just keeps zooming out. And I'm like, oh, I have to fucking press B.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like this little thing like that. Or what you were saying, Matt, it's like, why are quests in the map and not in the menu? And then why isn't the Pokedex in that menu either? Like that's in its own thing. And then like, it's like the items are right next to like save data, which are then like right next to online stuff. It just doesn't like make any sense, like how it's all laid out.
they really wanted to borrow from Monster Hunter a lot.
Is that what Monster Hunter does?
The menus in Monster Hunter are a mess too.
Yeah.
Well, and what's really interesting about this game compared to past Pokemon games is I think the main series Pokemon games since 4th generation Heart Gold and Soul Silver have always used X as the main menu.
Yeah.
Because there just hasn't been a reason for X, but X is a closer button than plus usually. So, I mean, X made more sense because that was, an upper, part of the control. And so that at least always made sense for me. But all the way down here on the D-pad, I'm like, what am I doing?
I keep trying to press X to get to my items during a battle as well.
Yeah.
But I have to press up because that's kind of muscle memory, right? And so it's like...
It took me the first couple battles to figure out the D-pad controls switching your Pokemon and also using items. I thought that like you had to go over, you like selected it with your control stick or something. It took me a couple battles to figure that out because also the game, although it definitely holds your hand way too much, there are some things like, some of the controls. And then there was something else I was going to talk about earlier that I can't remember, that it doesn't really... Oh, I remember. And this is another critique about the game. There are some things that it doesn't really tell you much about. And this is my kind of main critique besides the graphics of the game is the battle system. I like how it changed, but they kind of just throw you into it and say, there are these new things called strong moves and agile moves. Have fun. And it took me quite a while to get used to how I could use them in an effective way.
Yeah, and there's a little toggle you can do during battles that show turn order. And that's not on by default, which is stupid. But once you turn it on, it's just on, right? And then also the same with like move descriptors and stuff like that. Like I see no reason why that isn't just on all the time. And I keep it on all the time, right? Yeah. And then even little like control things, like we were talking in the Discord today, people didn't even realize there was motion controls in this game, right? It's like, and the motion,
you have to turn them on.
Yeah, but it's not even like turn on motion controls. You have to turn the sensitivity from 0 to 1. And you're like, okay, that's weird. But like once you do, all of a sudden, whenever you're like throwing a Pokeball, it just feels so much better to like do that with motion, right? And little stuff like that just isn't explained. And I wouldn't have known about it unless I'd seen a YouTube video.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of stuff is important to lay out more clearly, and none of that really was. Yeah.
Just man, all this UI stuff, like all of these things can be on the buttons where they are. But like if the inventory or the main menu, whatever we call it, that's on the top of the D-pad, just put the map also in that menu.
Yeah.
And then just make all the other buttons like quick access. Don't make it the only access to the map. Put the map in the inventory.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mhm.
Or just do anything that makes any fucking sense with the menus. I don't know. Whoever did that. I thought like Smash menus were bad. And like this is way worse than that. Yeah. Because you have to actually access them all the time, you know? So it's like, so that's annoying.
Yeah. Hank, you also mentioned a little bit earlier about having to go back to the village. You can't go from region to region to region to region. That's also a weird thing. I don't know the purpose of that with like the draw distance or the spawn times for the Pokemon, but having to do that, so it's such a strange mechanic.
Well, and you don't notice it typically in the early game because usually you're just focusing on one region, then going back to the village, then going back to that specific region. But later in the game, when you're trying to complete the Pokedex and you're going from region to region to region to find different Pokemon, it is so annoying because you have a load screen, you're back at the village, you can maybe change some things, and then you have another load screen, and then you're in the region you want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not. It's a game that is not without its flaws. I think it's something else that you could criticize about this game is that it doesn't really. While the open areas are very large and fun to roam around, especially once you get a steed, it's a lot more fun to jump and ride and go really fast. Like that shit's awesome. They are pretty fucking empty, man. And it's like, you'll go down a huge section, like in a cave or something, and you're like, hell yeah. And then you get down there and there's just nothing down there. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, what was the fucking point of that?
I also do want to take a second and acknowledge that your steed's name is Weird Ear. Weird Ear, something like that. It's a really fun Pokemon name. Most of the time, Pokemon does a really good job with names that are clever and, are easy to say. But every single time I think about getting out Weird Ear, I have to kind of sound it out in my mind.
Yeah, Patrick, you and I talk about this of like, we talk about this at a broader scale of Nintendo of like, if they're making billions of dollars in profits, if they just put a little bit more polish on the UI, just a little bit more, time in the oven,
life.
just slightly, this experience can go from great to like, what's better than great? The best, the fucking best. How
about acceptable?
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
And that's the thing about Nintendo. Like, I fucking wish that they would for a majority of the stuff, but they don't have to. They're like still going to get those sales.
Yeah, or a Pokemon company or Game Freak specifically. Yeah.
Every single Pokemon game, although, I mean, I love Pokemon and I've played every single one. Every single one in recent memory has been not living up to expectations. Yeah. And they don't have
Stockholm syndrome.
They still sell insane amounts of copies. So
no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, they spent all their quality of life budget on animations, I guess, which I am happy to see new animations for these Pokemon. They actually look good.
We didn't credit that.
The Pokemon actually look good. Finally.
It's the environment that doesn't look good. But anyway.
But anyway, I kind of want to talk for a second about here. I think that we should broach this topic. We've done a little bit about just the Breath of the Wild comparisons here, because breath likes now are a genre, and we've been seeing them constantly. And there's this year alone has a bunch of breath likes coming out, if not now, then very shortly, right? And this, I mean, Pokemon Legends Arceus is like, I've been saying this online recently. But it's a very Breath of the Wild coded game. You know how someone can be like queer coded or like male coded or female coded? You know what I mean? Like within gender politics, it's like, this is like Breath of the Wild coded to me, and it's all these little fucking things, right? Like the way that it just looks, right? Straight up sound effects. Like when you get a new item, it's like, it just sounds exactly like Breath of the Wild, right? I was playing the other day and I'm talking to this person, and it's right when you unlock the Korok adjacent things that are basically Koroks, but they're like little wisps, right? And they're like, hundreds of years ago, a great calamity beset our place and was sealed away by magic. And I was like, why the fuck did you have to just take the word calamity? It's like, we get that you're, they call it a calamity. And it's like, dude, why? Like, and even past that, the UI, the pause menu looks exactly like Breath of the Wild. And it's like you don't have to do that. You can take gameplay elements and have it be like that, and not like you don't have to constantly remind us that you're trying to do Breath of the Wild, right? Like after a while, I started like really resenting it. It's like, look, man, like have your own identity here, like, because you've got something really, really good and you're hiding behind this like little Breath of the Wild mask because everybody said they wanted Breath of the Wild Pokemon. They're like, when's it going to be the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon? And they've done it, right? And it's better for it. The game is better because they do this stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, man, you guys are really selling yourselves short here, because what tends to happen is that when you start comparing yourself to Breath of the Wild constantly, all I see is the ways that you're falling short, right? And it's like, I'm out here, I'm playing, and I see a fucking thing, and I'm like, why can't I fucking climb that? Is this really Breath of the Wild? If this was Breath of the Wild, I could scale that tree and stand up on top of it, right? Or I could do all these different like traversal mechanisms. That's what made Breath of the Wild so good. And so I just hope that going forward, that they can bring some of their own original identity back into this without having to rely so heavily on that aesthetic. And just don't lift straight elements from the game, dude. Like you can have it be game feel, right? You can have it be an open world that's like open area, right? Like Breath of the Wild did, but don't just rip off straight up shit. Like I think that's just really, it's really tacky to me, and it really turned me off of the whole experience.
Cool. I think you covered it for all of us.
Okay. Sorry. I've been wanting to talk about that for a long time. It's been like on my chest. I've needed to get it up.
I saw you post that screenshot and I was like, that is bad. And then like the big thing in the sky kind of feels like it too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Anyway.
It's like you're seeing Ganon circle the tower and everything.
You know that that's going to play in at the end or whatever.
Exactly. Like, it's like you don't have to do that to like make this a really good game. So sorry, I just had to soapbox for a second on that one.
Well, we've gone pretty long, so I think we should wrap it up. And a question that I think would be interesting to wrap it up is like, is this the Pokemon people have been waiting for? Maybe there's some things we just talked about was missing, but also like, what is the future of this? Are they going to keep making Legends games now, or is this only the future? You know what I mean? What do y'all think? Or what would you like to see going forward?
I think that in regards to what will keep happening, I think that that's still up in the air, because for a long time when the Let's Go games came out, what year was that? 2019, 2018? It was a while ago now. A lot of people were like, oh, there's going to be a Let's Go 2 for the Johto region, and that hasn't come out. I mean, I hope not, now that we know what else we can have. But at the time, I very much was wanting that. But now, I mean, I think it's to be told, to be determined. I really hope that even if they don't keep with the Legends, sort of mini franchise in the Pokemon series, I do hope that they keep the mechanics, which I think they will. I think that now that they've done it, they can't go back. That's what I hope. But Game Freak has more than disappointed me in the past. So
we'll see. You got to think it's a trend, right? Because it was like, fucking
Sword and Shield.
Yeah, Sword and Shield had the open area, and then the DLC went way harder in on that, right? Like it was way more open world than even Sword and Shield was, and now they've gone even further, right? So it's like, hopefully what we've been seeing from Game Freak specifically, right, is more trending that way. It will be hard for me to ever go back. Like I don't want them to make a Let's Go again. It's like, that I didn't even buy Let's Go because I knew it would get old for me, because I've played Red and Blue so many times and it looked like it was just Pokemon Go, but Red and Blue, right?
And I do want to say, for the future of the series and where I hope and I think that they should go, is that this game, even though it's still considered a mainline Pokemon game, and obviously I love it and I'm so happy that they did what they did, it still is faltering a lot from the traditional Pokemon battling system. There are no online battles in this game. The only thing you can do online in this game is trade Pokemon.
This game needs multiplayer.
Or find satchels for your friends. And for someone like me who has spent thousands of hours in the competitive online field, what I really hope that they can do is merge those mechanics with all of the new mechanics that they introduced in this game. So
No, yeah, I think this game desperately needs multiplayer. Maybe not in this one, right? Like this kind of feels like a proof of concept, but it's like in whatever the next Legends game is, like they got to bring back multiplayer that you can play with your friends online or with anybody, right? I think that's like the major thing that's missing from this, in my opinion.
I have one thought, which is I was just looking up screenshots and video of a little game called Little Town Hero. Remember Little Town Hero? Another game of Game Freak. I was comparing graphics, and Game Freak has had games, made games that have better graphics than this.
And that game didn't look very good.
No,
but better.
But just slightly more better.
Yeah.
I want big risks for the Pokemon Company. I want to see a big leaps. Pokemon Company's always been very conservative with their games. And this is just a slow one step at a time. Let's see if this works. Everything's going to sell. I just want a larger world, a better UI. I do think the next evolution of this will continue the Pokemon Legends brand.
Yeah. And this game, we didn't really talk about it in the news, but it's like this game is selling really well, at least in the UK. It's like got off to a really good start with just being one game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they need to do the two, I don't want to see a Legends Arceus Dialga or like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need there to be two of this. Like it works fine as is with one. And it seems to be selling great, even though it's just one, it's not relying on people buying both to have those enormous sales. So I think that's a good thing. I think the mainline games could take from that as well. I think it's an outdated relic of the link cable era, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like that about this, and I hope to see that going forward.
Cool. Well, that does it then for our talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus. If there's anything that we talked about that you have opinions on, we'd love to hear from you. So send them our way, and we're going to take another short break. And when we come back, we'll talk about all the other games that we've been playing recently. I apologize if this turns a little self-promotion-y, but I'm gonna mention some games I've been playing. I've been playing. I wanted to mention that Playing It Wrong is back, so I've been playing a lot of NES and SNES games on those apps, and you can listen to Playing It Wrong, releasing now. And also, I think I have not mentioned that I've been playing Doki Doki Literature Club on stream. So I've not beaten it, but I've been streaming this game, and it's been a lot of fun. I've
been really enjoying watching your stream.
Thank you for streaming it.
Yeah, I will watch you play that stream because I'm too scared to play it myself. So.
Well, I have not been like really promoting my streams very much, but I'm PDYX123 on Twitch, and I could use some follows because I've got all the other things to be an affiliate except for enough followers. So here's my ask, everybody. If you've got a Twitch account, come follow me. I'd appreciate it. Playing Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, and it's been a lot of fun. I don't know how much of the game left I have to go. I don't want to talk spoilers. It's a crazy game. Come check it out if you want to. And I think all the other games I've been playing, I talk about a lot, Smash and Shin Megami Tensei 5. So I just wanted to mention that because I haven't been playing that. It's a really weird game.
Yeah, dude.
Really weird.
I'm having a lot of fun watching you play that. Also, you haven't said now, but you've made it like a poetry slam.
Yeah,
like we basically you encourage everybody from the Discord to write poetry, and we've been reading our poems on
and no stream. Pressure. I write a poem for it every time, usually 5 minutes ahead of time. So the quality does not have to be good, but if you want to write a poem and and have it read online, I will read it, or we can find a way for you to read it. Even
so cool. So, yeah, definitely shoot Patrick a follow. I'll go next because mainly mine is about games I've been streaming as well. But obviously been playing a shit ton of Legends Arceus, and on my Switch, I think that's it. I haven't even really played any Grindstone. Basically, I haven't played any other game on my Switch since this came out. It's been mainly it. But what I have been playing on stream is Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, and that has been very, very exciting.
This is your first Metal Gear game, right?
Yeah. It's been a fucking blast streaming this game. I'd never played any game in the franchise before, and I have my my Xbox Series S. I have it in developer mode, so I've loaded up RetroArch on it, and I'm running this off of the Dolphin emulator on my Xbox, and it is such a goddamn blast. I can't believe I never played this franchise up until this point because it's been such a part of the cultural zeitgeist, but I've just never been able to actually, I don't know, I've just never sat down and taken the time to actually do it. And so the first time I streamed, it was so fun. Like, and the chat was just filled with people that had played this game like a million times before. And so it was like they were just watching me like fumble my way through all the mechanics and like learning everything as I'm going. But man, dude, I love it so much. Like I totally see the appeal and like why everybody loves this franchise so much. Like the writing is fucking stellar and weird and horny.
It's
and
so
bizarre.
fun.
Yeah. And it's like, it's distinctly Kojima, right? It's like, you know, like the way that his characters, like every once in a while, like they'll say something that I'm just like, fuck, man, that's like really profound. And then the next sentence will be like, I learned that from watching anime. You know what I mean? It's like they just say like asinine bullshit. He's like, I'm Otacon. That's short for Otaku Convention. And it's just like, okay. You know, it's like silly shit like that. Like it's so tongue in cheek, and it's writing that borderline right between like super serious and camp. And it like flip flops like really great between both of them. And then it's up, you know, and then it's got just like great characters and really great gameplay. And every level's like a puzzle, you know. And I've been really enjoying playing that game quite a bit.
And that's on top of what's happening in the background is commentary on the war machine that powers the world.
Exactly. The military industrial complex is what the whole game is about, right? And like nuclear proliferation and all that kind of shit. And so it's been a ton of fun. I can't wait to play more. I will say I am now at the Psycho Mantis fight, and I kind of don't know what to do.
Ooh,
because
I can
it's
read
like
your mind.
Well, no, because he's like, the way you beat Psycho Mantis is by plugging your controller into port 2. And so I'm like, fuck. And so I just have to like pull up like RetroArch settings and like figure out how to emulate my Xbox controller as a GameCube controller in port 2. And that's where my last stream ended. I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, all right, we're going to have to figure this out. And like, I don't know, maybe I'll have to plug in a USB controller into my Xbox in order to do this. But it was like, the stress was way too high on stream for me to figure out. So I just like called it. But it's a ton of fun.
The game is playing David playing the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is what you get for emulating.
Yeah. Or little stuff like that where it's like, you can only find this person's codec number by looking on the back of the box. It's like, okay, I guess I'm fucking Googling that.
But I loved the moment during your last stream where you picked up the gas mask and you needed it. And like for like the next 5 minutes, you kept dying, and all of us in the chat were like, "Put on the gas mask." And you're like, "I didn't realize I had it. I'm not managing my O2 well over here." And like, put on the gas mask.
I was like, "Oh, I guess you just got to go in and out of this door and just like get more oxygen."
And you're like, "When did I get the gas mask?" We're like, "Since we've been yelling at you."
Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm having a ton of fun. I'm gonna play through the whole thing on stream. And I've been really enjoying it. It's a great stream game. And now I'm just like waiting for Konami to put Metal Gear 2 and 3 back up on the digital platforms, because you can't get those games anymore. They got pulled for licensing issues with the archival footage. So now I'm just like, you know, and I've tried everything to like find like CD keys or whatever for that, because I have an Xbox Series S. I can't just like throw in a disc and get the backwards compatible version. I have to like wait for it to be purchasable. But yeah, eventually I'm going to play through all these games because I'm a total convert now. Great stuff. Matt, what about you? What have you been playing, man?
Playing lots of Pokemon Legends Arceus and way more Halo Infinite. But my Halo Infinite gameplay is taking a turn for the worst. I was Onyx, high up, like middle Onyx, which is the highest ranking, and I'm no longer Onyx. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
We just had a bad my Halo crew just had a bad couple of nights. It's just a real shitty time, and so I was feeling really bad about myself because I'm a sweaty Halo player. But what I've enjoyed about it is, because lots of people are playing Halo again, is that people are on. So my signal chat will blow up and be like, "Hey, I'm hopping on Halo in an hour. Can you play?" That feels nice, and that continues to be something that's really fun. Is like, "Hey, I'm going to hop on in a couple hours, or I'm going to hop on in like 3 or 4 hours," and it's really good. So shout out to Tony Pett, who's been playing with us. We make fun of him because he's a dentist.
Oh, it's not a noble profession.
Yeah. It's fine.
It's a whole scam thing. You don't have to brush your teeth.
What's that ad that I keep seeing on like Twitch and YouTube that's like surgeons make 33% less errors who game? Like surgeons who game. So dentists who game.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I just want to just Halo generally, just shout out to all like the friends that you make online that you never met. Some of the crew is just like people that I talk to and I like hang out with like 3 or 4 times a week. That you just like get to know over time, but you never know them. So social stuff. Really miss that. And it's great. Yeah. And that's it for me. It's been good. Yeah. One more thing. Not video game. I was at a party. Someone mentioned what movie they should watch because they got COVID. Just a reminder to everyone, you should watch fucking Paddington 2. Is a goddamn perfect movie. Go out and watch Paddington 2. It's a great movie. Off the podcast. Go do it. Okay, I'm done. Hank.
So I've been playing obviously a lot of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, this is something that's interesting to touch on because in the anime, when they first introduced Arceus back in 2007, 2008, when Diamond and Pearl came out, they always said Arceus. But recently, when they've been advertising Pokemon Legends Arceus, they've been saying Arceus. And
you know why, right?
No,
yeah,
I don't.
So it's because in England, the word for ass is arse. So it's basically like his name is Arceus. Like if his name was Arceus, we would all laugh constantly and kids would make fun of it. So kids in England were like, oh, Arceus. Oh. And so they're like, all right, well, let's just pronounce it globally different.
Wow.
So we don't have that problem. Yeah.
I'm so happy you do that because I had no idea. And that makes total sense. But yeah, I mean, I've been playing a shit ton of that since 11:02 p.m. on Thursday. I am so mad at Nintendo. I will never get those 2 minutes back.
2 minutes.
Yeah. It was a frustrating time in our Discord. Yeah.
I was like, but normally I play a lot of Dead by Daylight. I don't know what it is about gay people, and death that is so attractive to that for me.
I never knew that correlation.
Yeah. Well, a lot of queer people and like drag queens stream Dead by Daylight, and it's a weird coincidence, and that's actually what got me into it. But I've played thousands of hours of Dead by Daylight. I play a shit ton of that. I also play a lot of Hearthstone. Mainly, I got into it in high school, and then it is just a fun thing that you can do on your phone, so at any time. So I really enjoy Hearthstone. I like all
great Microsoft game, Hearthstone.
And then recent other games that I did. One of my favorite games of all time is Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door. And so I actually had never played Paper Mario for N64. And it had just come out on the Switch Virtual Console. So I gave it a try and I played through the whole game and I was like, I understand why Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door is the best one. It was so good. But after knowing Thousand Year Door so well and loving it my whole life, it was like, okay, this is kind of baby.
Another great game that gives commentary to the military industrial complex.
True.
The big paper industry.
Yeah.
Dismantle it.
But yeah, that's all I've been playing recently.
Very good.
Awesome. Well, that does it then for this episode. Thanks, Hank. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your Pokemon knowledge with us.
Yes.
Absolutely. This was a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much. I'm excited to join the Discord and get all involved. I didn't say that I don't stream, but I actually have, especially recently, been really thinking about it. So once I do, I'll definitely give everyone all the info about that.
Please do.
Super Stream Headz.
And then thanks to MilkyWay.co does our website. Thanks to Corduroy who does our music. If you're looking for me online, I am PDYX most places.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Hank? Where can people find you online?
I'm on Instagram a lot. My Instagram handle is fitting Hank Clarinet.
Hank Clarinet.
But yeah, Instagram is pretty much all I have TikTok to follow other people and Twitter to follow other people, but
yeah,
I mostly just post on Insta. So
that's all good. Yeah, where can people find your band? You guys have social links for that?
Yeah, so my band is called Quintessence. Our Instagram handle is Quintessence512. Take the word quintet, cut out the T at the end, and then make it essence.
Awesome.
So Quintessence512 on both Facebook and Instagram, or you can just search Quintessence Win Quintet. Yeah, it's a good time.
Are you working on any game arrangements for any upcoming concerts?
Not right now. we're going through some group things right now, so TBD on the future. But definitely that's in my repertoire. If anyone listening, has any sort of interest in arrangements or anything, please contact me because I love doing arrangements of really anything, and I have a lot of instrumentation and orchestration background.
Dish, Hank, Dish, give us all your group drama right now.
Can't speak on it publicly yet, so.
Very good. All right, well, if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us online at www.switchheadz.com or superswitchheadz.com. We fucking have both domains. Fuck it. And then also we've got a Discord and a Facebook group. The links to both of those will be in the description of this podcast. And remember to go to YouTube and give us a like and a subscribe. Even if you listen to our podcast in audio, it only takes 2 seconds. Just fire up the old YouTube. Anyway, guys, we're going to be back next week. We have a very special guest for you guys next week. I kind of want to say who it is right now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep it a surprise. But it's going to be a really fun topic. Been more than I've been wanting to do for a long time. So make sure you tune in next week. And other than that, guys, let's stay safe out there. Let's keep wearing our masks if we're in big crowded places indoors. Even if you got the vaccine, man, it's fucking spreading like wildfire. And if you haven't gotten that booster yet, do that right away. It's gonna save lives for yourself and potentially even those around you. Guys, we love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Nice.
Here we go. This is me.
Oh, very good.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
I know. She's cute.